Welcome to the Pages of Possibilities podcast. If you are tackling modern life, whether you're running a business, managing a family, or just trying to get through the week, you absolutely know the feeling of information overload.
Oh, absolutely. It's constant.
And we try to fight it with this tool we've all been taught to use, the to-do list. But here's the paradox, right? Most of the time, that list doesn't give you productivity. It gives you paralysis.
Yes. That feeling of dread. You look at it and just freeze.
You look at 10, maybe 20 items, and instead of a clear path forward, you just feel this suffocating weight. So, okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is a deep dive into an insightful article we analyzed. How do I journal my to-do list effectively?
A great one.
We're going to figure out how to turn that passive list, that bucket of anxieties, into a genuine functional productivity engine. And what we found is that it really hinges on 4 key actions. Tasks have to be specific, limits need to be realistic, priorities must be crystal clear, and you need a critical end-of-day review.
What's so fascinating here is that the article isn't just giving a template. It's really a philosophy. The difference between a list that just stores tasks and one that actively drives your day comes down entirely to how it guides you.
How it guides you.
Right. If your list requires your brain to make complex decisions every single time you look at it, it's failing. It needs to be a set of clear instructions, not just a repository of, vague hopes.
A set of instructions. I love that framing because it immediately points to the first big hurdle, which the article flags as the #1 mistake, the vague versus specific task tests.
We are all so guilty of this.
Oh, completely. We write down these huge, sprawling entries like work on marketing or Project Alpha, or my favorite, the universal time sink, emails.
Emails. It's not a task, it's a lifestyle.
It really is. And why does this sink us? Because those aren't tasks, they're categories. When you see marketing on your list, your brain has to stop, assess the entire category, and then decide, okay, specifically, what one thing about marketing should I do right now?
And that pause, that's the enemy of action. That gap is where the decision fatigue starts. We talk about friction in systems, and that moment of having to choose, having to think, that is pure friction.
And when there's friction, the brain just defaults to the easy thing.
Exactly. It looks for the path of least resistance. Checking social media, organizing a desk drawer, or, yes, just scrolling through the inbox without actually accomplishing anything.
So the specific solution is to force yourself to write items where you know exactly what action to take, and crucially, what the stopping point is. The research gave such clear examples of this.
They were great. Think about work on presentation. That's what, an 8-hour job? It's meaningless.
Right.
But if you write draft slides 1 to 5 for quarterly presentation, you know exactly where to start. And you get that small win when slide 5 is done, which makes the next step feel so much less daunting.
Or another one was moving from the vague call clients to the super specific call Sarah at Acme Corp to discuss contract renewal.
And they even added more context, didn't they? Something like focus on liability clause.
Yes. All that context is packed right in. You don't waste 10 minutes trying to remember what the point of the call was.
And this even applies to things like research. Vague. Research new software. That's an endless pit.
Could be a whole week.
But specific. Read 3 competitor pricing pages and list feature differences. Now you've already done the thinking work before you even start the doing.
So I have to ask, if specificity is so clearly the answer, why do we default to being so vague? Is it just laziness?
I think it's a mix. But sometimes when you write something vague like research, that's actually your brain flagging that the task itself is too big and you haven't defined it yet. The list writing process should be that moment of definition.
So it's a signal.
It's a signal. And the key test, like the article says, is the future you test. When you're writing your list tonight, you have to ask, if I wake up tomorrow, groggy, low on coffee, distracted, will I know exactly what to do in an instant?
If you have to pause for even 10 seconds, it's too vague.
That's the bar. And one of the simplest ways to clear that bar is to use strong action verbs.
Right. The article mentioned that.
Yeah. You replace passive phrasing with things like write, call, send, review, schedule, draft, or finish. These words push you toward execution. They just, they minimize the cognitive load.
That distinction between thinking and doing is everything. But, okay, even with perfect, hyper-specific tasks, if we list 50 of them for one day, we're right back where we started.
You've just created a specific path to burnout, yes.
Which takes us straight into Section 2. Ruthless realism and list limits. The reality is, an overloaded list just makes you feel defeated before you even begin.
It guarantees failure. And then you either do nothing because you're paralyzed, or you do scattered work jumping around, doing little things but never touching the big important ones.
And the effective journalers, the source notes, are truly ruthless about this.
They have to be. This brings up that critical distinction between two types of lists. There's what you could do, which is your master task inventory. Think of it as a giant reservoir, a brain dump.
Your someday maybe list.
Exactly. It's where you store things so you don't have to hold them in your head. But then there is your daily list. And this one must be restricted. It is what you will do today.
Okay, but this is where it gets tough. Our audience, they're high achievers. If you have 15 important things screaming for attention, how do you honestly look at that list and just cap it at, say, 9? Doesn't that feel like you're just avoiding work?
That's a great question. And it hits on this huge psychological barrier. It's called the planning fallacy.
Okay.
It's a cognitive bias. It causes us to consistently underestimate how long a task will take, even when we have direct experience of similar tasks taking longer in the past. We always convince ourselves this time will be different.
I am so guilty of this.
We all are. So capping the list isn't avoidance. It's a defense mechanism against that fallacy. It forces you to be honest about the finite reality of your time. Most tasks take 25 to 50% longer than we think. So you have to build in buffer time, not just for the task, but for the transitions between then getting coffee, shifting your focus, dealing with that one inevitable interruption.
So the constraint is like a forced reality check on our natural optimism.
Precisely.
The article also detailed a really great mechanism for this, for people who struggle with where to draw that line. The 1-3-5 constraint.
A very practical tool.
It's so specific. You plan one big, high-impact task, 3 medium tasks, and 5 small tasks per day. That forces you to get the 9 most important things done. But the insight was that the exact formula matters less than just having some kind of constraint that forces you to prioritize.
Absolutely. Because without constraint, everything feels like a priority, which means nothing is a priority. And that leads us right into the next section. Prioritizing and providing context.
Right.
We have to acknowledge that even within your 9 perfect, specific, time-blocked tasks, they're not all created equal. Some move a huge project forward, others are just maintenance.
And if you don't decide which is which before you start, you'll always do the easy ones first.
Always. Which is how we end up with perfectly organized email folders, but, zero progress on the actual Q3 strategy document.
I feel personally attacked.
The goal of prioritizing is to know the 2 or 3 things that if you get them done, you can say, today was a success, even if a fire drill wipes out the rest of the list. You have to identify them first, star them, highlight them, whatever it takes.
That intentionality is key.
It is. It protects you from that easy task trap. We get a little dopamine hit from crossing anything off a list. So if you start your day by knocking out 5 tiny tasks, you feel good, but you've probably just burned your best energy on low-impact work.
Prioritization is the guardrail.
Exactly. And once we know our priorities, we need to extend that same intention to providing context. The article called this an act of kindness to your future self.
I love that phrase because your list serves you right now when the details are fresh. But future you is going to be clueless.
Totally clueless. Think about the lost efficiency. If you just write review contract, you mean section 4 of the Acme proposal, but future, you just sees review contract and has to spend 10 minutes rereading emails just to figure out what you were worried about.
That's wasted cognitive energy.
Totally. And the 2 seconds you spend adding context saves minutes of re-research later. And just as important, it removes that little dose of frustration with your past self.
So instead of just follow up with Jason, it becomes follow up with Jason re-budget approval for Q2 project.
Or even better, follow up with Jason re-budget approval using data from the pricing comparison. You've linked it all together. It's truly actionable.
Or how about email team? Becomes email team. Confirm meeting, move to Thursday 2 p.m. meters, and include updated calendar invite. It's so simple, but it saves future you from having to dig up all that info.
It creates a clean transition. You never want to have to stop and think when you're in execution mode. The thinking should happen during the planning phase, the night before, or first thing in the morning.
Okay, that brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial piece of this system, active use and the review cycle. Because a perfectly written list that just sits in your journal is, as the source material colorfully put it, a wish document.
Right, not a productivity tool.
You have to keep it visible and actually consult it, especially when moving between tasks. You finish task A, and the default is to check email.
See what new fire has started?
Right, but the effective system insists that you consult the list to decide what task B should be.
This is also where the habit of consistent capture comes in. When new tasks pop up during the day, an email, a thought, you get them down immediately. Onto a scratch pad, into your master list, whatever. You get them out of your head so your mental RAM stays clear.
Your memory is a terrible office assistant.
The worst. And this active use is tied to that powerful psychological payoff. Every time you cross a task off, your brain gives you that little hit of satisfaction. That dopamine is a crucial part of building momentum. Small wins make progress visible.
We thrive on that evidence of movement. But as important as completion is, the article argues that the real power, the moment this all transforms into a truly reflective tool, is the end-of-day review.
Yes, this is the data collection moment. And it is emphatically not for self-criticism. You have to look at what was completed, and more importantly, what wasn't, and just systematically ask why.
So if a core priority wasn't finished, what's the diagnosis?
Right. Was the time underestimated? Did you fall into that easy task trap? Was there some kind of internal resistance? I mean, did you keep pushing off the same task for 3 days in a row? That's telling you something.
So you're gathering data on your own work style.
Incredibly valuable data. If you consistently underestimate 1-hour tasks, you learn you need to schedule 75 minutes for them. If you keep deferring one project, that signals something deeper. Maybe it needs to be broken down even more, or maybe it's not actually that important.
And this review forces that crucial final step, consciously managing what's left over. You can't just let them roll forward automatically. They become what the article called list detritus.
I love that term, list detritus. Tasks that just survive week after week, making the list heavier without ever getting done. You have to look at that incomplete item and make an executive decision. Does this still need to happen? If so, when? Should it go back to the master list for a while?
That decision-making keeps the daily plan clean. And finally, there's the long view perspective. If you use the system for weeks and months, you build this undeniable record of accomplishment.
Such a powerful tool against self-doubt.
Totally. When you feel that slump, that feeling of, I haven't gotten anything done, you can literally flip back through the pages and see the physical evidence of hundreds of completed tasks. It's a powerful counter-narrative.
It really is.
So, to summarize our deep dive into effective to-do list journaling, it's really about 3 core actions. Be specific to eliminate friction, be realistic by imposing those radical constraints, and reflect constantly to gather data and, hopefully, beat the planning fallacy.
And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, the list isn't just about managing tasks. It's about systematically learning to understand your own psychology. That end-of-day review turns the list from a static document into a dynamic feedback loop. You use today's data on your time and your resistance to plan a better tomorrow. And that refinement cycle is how you actually master your time and reduce your anxiety.
That's a fantastic thought to end on. You now have the blueprints to make your to-do list work for you instead of against you. If you enjoyed cutting through the noise with us today, be sure to subscribe to be notified when new deep dives drop. And visit pagesofpossibilities.com for more information. We'll see you next time.